Oh, wait. Stop.
Welcome, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If I could have a motion to approve the agenda for the business meeting of January 10th, 2022. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Duncan?
Duncan?
I might have lost him. Okay, I would like to...
Aye.
Thank you, Duncan. Okay, we have an accolade today, and we would like to recognize Emily Duncan for her participation and success in the International Baccalaureate Diploma Program. So with that, I would turn it over to Kendall Fritz, please.
Hello, everyone.
You gotta push the button.
Hello.
Much better, thank you.
I am incredibly excited to be here tonight to represent GCS as we express our pride in Emily Duncan. Emily was our one and only IB diploma student for the class of 2021. While the IB diploma is certainly a challenging journey, it was made even more challenging by the onset of the pandemic in 2020, Emily's first year in her pursuit of the IB diploma. So seeing Emily complete her diploma requirements with scores that were well above international averages was impressive, to say the least. It goes without saying that Emily is intelligent and hardworking, but I would also describe her as humble and gracious. She really is the type of person that you look forward to working with. She's just genuine and insightful. And I know that I speak for the entire team of IB teachers when I say that we are proud of you. And we have no doubt that you will be successful in your current studies at Cornell and really any endeavors that you choose to pursue. So congratulations, please join me in congratulating Emily Duncan. Please accept your International Baccalaureate Diploma.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, it's a lot of work, and kudos to you, bravo. With that, I would like to move on to the open forum. The 30-minute open forum is the time the board sets aside to hear in-person comments from the public. Comments may also be emailed in advance of the meeting prior to 4 p.m. on the date of the meeting and state in the email if you would like your correspondence read out loud to Daphne Pearson, District Clerk at pearsond@greenvillecsd.org. This is an opportunity for residents to voice general concerns or compliments, especially about items on the agenda. However, this is not the time to register complaints about specific individuals or about items that should be addressed confidentially through the proper channels, typically with the principal or superintendent of schools. All comments shall be addressed to the district clerk and shall be limited to no more than 5 minutes per board policy 2180. Please note that members of the board may not be able to directly respond to citizens' concerns or emails during the public open forum. So with that, do we have any emails?
I have 3 that I could read.
Okay.
The first one, can everybody hear me? That's working. was off. It's on now.
Okay.
The person that I received this email from wished.
No, it should be.
There it doesn't have to be
A little closer. The person that sent me this email asked that they remain anonymous. I'm writing with my concerns on the new policy put in place in the school's health department. Athletes who have recently tested positive for COVID are now required to complete the return to play protocols. As I have talked with other families, athletes who have tested positive and returned to play, coaches, etc., I understand this is a new policy, or at least a newly followed policy at Greenville. It appears the COVID form used to return to play is the same as the form used to return to play following a concussion. And these are two very different medical issues. My questions and concerns are, number one, this has not been a requirement for previous sports seasons this year. Why now? If this is a new policy, why was it not presented to parents or accessible on the school's athletic website? Number two, where has this policy been directed from? CDC? County Health Department? If so, why are we the only, if so, why are we one of the only schools following these protocols? Number three, who is the medical professional that will be attending practices to monitor heart rates and level of activity? Is this person more qualified than my child's pediatrician who has examined him and given clearance for full activity? Was this policy approved by the Board of Education as a new protocol we will be following? Also, with the new COVID quarantine times, does return to play start upon completion of quarantine, or is it 10 days after symptoms were noticed? My son was literally sick for 1 day of his 9-day quarantine, so fortunately it was a very mild case. He has been outside every day since day 2. He has been ice skating, cross-country skiing, playing basketball, walking the dog, sleigh riding, etc. Most days he's engaged in these activities multiple times a day as he was going stir-crazy. So it seems like he's going backwards if he is expected to follow the gradual return to play protocol outlined by the school district. He was seen by his pediatrician today and was cleared for sports with no restrictions. And although I understand the risk with my myocarditis and COVID, only 0.146% of COVID patients develop this condition, and it is therefore a very low risk, especially with a mild case of COVID. I think this is a lot for the district to micromanage. Why don't we leave it up to the qualified pediatrician who knows each student's athlete's medical history best to determine if they are ready to return to play? This would allow the school to turn its attention to better mitigation efforts such as actually enforcing mask wearing at games, increasing testing of student athletes, and focusing on increasing vaccination rates, etc. I have another one that, just let me read for a second because I believe they want to be anonymous as well. So this was initially directed to Denise Wickham and it was forwarded on to the board. I am trying to get some details together for my own understanding and forward to my healthcare provider. Is this process something established by the DOH? I don't remember reading anything in the district reopening plan or additional information found on the website that mentioned this plan. I would like to know if the board was informed of this process and what medical guidance was used to create this return to play process. Parentheses, as does my healthcare provider, end parentheses. Is it similar to the concussion return to play? Is there a website or somewhere that you could guide us to review this process and how it was created? Will this affect her participation in PE as well? Our healthcare provided has cleared my student to return to play and submitted a note to the nurse's office via fax on Friday. Thank you for helping us out. Again, another one asking to be read anonymously. I'm writing with concerns about the new policy put in place in the school's health department. Athletes who have recently tested positive for COVID are now required to complete the return to play protocols. The form given to me was the same protocol we used for athletes after concussions. Concussion and COVID have entirely different symptoms. I have attached the form given. My questions and concerns are, number one, this has not been a requirement for previous sports seasons this year. Why now? If this is a new policy, why was it not presented to parents or accessible on the school's athletic website? 2, where has this policy been directed from? CDC, County Health Department? If so, why are we the only school that is following these protocols?
3, who is the medical professional that will be attending practices to monitor heart rates and level of activity? Is this person more qualified than my child's pediatrician, who has examined her and given full clearance for full activity? Number 4, was this policy approved by the Board of Education as a new protocol we will be following? Number 5, if my child has to follow these protocols to return to full activity for basketball, why was she able to participate fully in PE with no restrictions? My daughter was examined by her pediatrician this morning. She was cleared for full activity, yet is told by school that the pediatrician does not have that right. Who in our school is more qualified? I was told by our pediatrician, Greenville is the only school she has had to do this release for. Until Greenville School has written/approved policy, they cannot go over the heads of medical professionals.
And then I also have 2 that we received over previously, not today. Well, 1 we received previously. I am writing as an extremely concerned and frustrated member of our Lovax community and parent of an elementary school student. I empathize with the burnout of the last 2 years has brought down on everyone, and particularly appreciate the teachers and staff on the front lines keeping our kids safe, all while doing the incredibly demanding tasks of holding their attention and educating them. They are saints, and I could not be more grateful. I am concerned as some of my concerns are dismissed and aren't earnestly addressed or taken seriously, and I worry burnout has led to dangerous fatigue and advocacy. The number 2 line item, surveillance testing in the school's multi-layered COVID mitigation protocols presented to parents for reopening in September has not been updated. Further, I'm concerned that after pressing this matter last week, this policy, the mitigation protocol, was removed without a replacement plan and without notifying parents and other district stakeholders. It is important for school to be transparent and accountable way for a public servant to respond to public scrutiny. In addition to testing, our mitigation plan and contact tracing algorithm have other points of weakness that bear updating for Omicron. It is well documented that clock masks are insufficient to stop this transmission. The school could be using unspent emergency funds to provide quality masks to students. Additionally, we know that you do not need 3 feet of proximity or an exposure for 15 minutes to contract COVID, and that being vaccinated does not exclude you from being infected and transmitting the virus. Then there are a series of 5 questions. Is the school implementing student surveillance testing? If so, when? If you cannot give a date to commence, what actions are being taken to resolve it? Can the district consider procuring quality masks for students to reduce transmission? Can the district revisit its contact tracing algorithm to update it for much more transmissible Omicron variant? Can the district do more to keep parents up to date on the latest measures it is taking to control COVID? There was a very long gap in communication between September and December regarding COVID. I noticed that the principals have been sending out monthly letters of what is new in their building. Can this be a practice that parents know what the status of COVID mitigation implementation? We also received another email. Dear families and staff, the New York State Department of Health has adopted the new CDC recommendation on shortening quarantine and isolation to 5 days for the general population, including students and school staff. It is anticipated that schools may receive further guidance based on the January 4th memo from the New York State Health Department, which also aligns with the updated recommendations from the CDC. These new changes will take effect immediately. These changes supersede previous guidance and protocols listed on our school opening plan. This is the part from a letter that was issued today by the Superintendent Sutherland. Then it goes into, with the release of this guidance in its current state, the district does not take into account students with physical, mental, or emotional disabilities which limit their wearing of face coverings. With this guidance, the district is open to claims of discriminatory practices since students who fall into this category are being denied the access to educational requirements equivalent to their peers, which is a clear violation of FAPE, as well as violations of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Since students with these types of limitations already have a difficult time obtaining an equal education to their peers, forcing them to stay out of school longer than students without such limitations is not only unfair, it is discriminatory. As a parent of a student who falls into this category, I strongly ask the board and district to reconsider the policy, as it not only opens the district to legal claims of discriminatory practices, as well as the unfair treatment of students with a disability. It is unreasonable to leave this population of students behind while general education students can return to normalcy. These students often have medical waivers and/or documentation attesting to their ability to wear face coverings, which could all be provided upon request. How could it be considered fair that a general education student can return to their full in-person instruction, but a child who has limitations cannot based on those limitations? It is not fair, it is not right, and it is illegal. Thank you. Were there any other? No. So I think, thank you very much for the letters, for sending them in. We will be going through and providing a COVID update, so many of these questions will be answered during that update. And as we've continuously said, it is a dynamic process that is continuously changing, and so we'll wait till the update a little bit later. So with that, then, I would like to move on to 6.1, which is the IB program review by Kendall Fritz, who is going to be giving a presentation. Thank you.
Good evening. Most of this will be Kendall Fritz, but I'm going to do a little intro for you quick. Introduce the star of the evening. So January, we tried to use the board meeting in January to recognize, like we did tonight, our full IB diploma students. And there's a reason for that, just to have a little background. We get notification sometime over the summer, usually early to mid-July, if students have passed all the requirements for the full diploma. So we've tried to make it a tradition. Students are usually busy over the summer and then off to college in August. So we try to capture that time in January when they're home for the holidays. It worked out for Emily to come this evening so that we can recognize those students that receive that full diploma. So that's why that's happening tonight, and it doesn't happen in June with regular graduation. So we also wanted to take an opportunity tonight to provide an update and just some information about the International Baccalaureate program. So this really is going to be Kendall sharing, as one of her many hats that she wears is the IB coordinator for the district. This is a presentation we actually gave 3 years ago to the board and at a community forum just to share information about the IB program. So we've updated it and included some data that's more updated to today. But it's really just to share with the board and for the public to continually hear about this great program that we have at Greenville and pairing it with the recognition of Emily since she was able to join us tonight. If you have questions throughout, you can certainly interrupt. We will provide time at the very end to answer questions if you have them as well. And without further ado, I'll turn it over to Kendall.
Thank you, Mr. Hilgendorf. Okay, hi everybody. So a lot of folks here do know a bit about the IB. There's some history here of some students who have attended, but some folks might not know much about the program. So I'd like to start by explaining a bit about the International Baccalaureate program. This is an educational opportunity that exists in 11th and 12th grade. So 11th and 12th grade students have access to it, and it consists of coursework in various subject areas. As an IB student, you can earn a certificate or an IB diploma. So Emily Duncan is a perfect example of a student who earned an IB diploma, which you can see is completing and committing to coursework in every subject group, as well as writing an extended essay and completing a service component over 2 years as well. Whereas the opportunity to earn an IB certificate can simply be earned by taking any course. Any student who chooses even one course can earn an IB certificate in that particular course. IB courses can lead to college credit depending on how students score, and also hold a 5% weight. So what I mean by that is here at Greenville, we do weighted averages. So taking an IB course shows that you challenged yourself with more rigorous coursework, so a 5% weight is added onto that particular course. An IB education is a bit different. It stands apart in that it connects the classroom to the world. So what I mean by that is, how do we learn? How can we contribute to making the world a better place by what we're learning through our own inquiry, knowledge, and communication? That's really what IB's mission is. An IB diploma, just to give you perspective, is really the most rigorous program at GCS. So it's wonderful here at Greenville. We're a small school, but we offer a lot of different opportunities. The IB diploma is really considered that most rigorous option that a student can take advantage of. And it is internationally recognized for university entrance, which means universities really see this as a gold standard. Someone who can complete such a program shows that they are ready to take on that challenge. As far as curriculum goes, it is a comprehensive program of study. Most courses run over 2 years. There is a quality of curriculum. It is very much student-centered and process-driven. So it's not so much about getting the right answer, but how did you get the right answer? How do you know that that is the right answer? Really teaching students about that process rather than just having the answer. So it's inquiry-based. This is a program that requires frequent staff training. The IB, the International Baccalaureate Program, strives to really stay up to date, and the curriculum can change. The way that they assess students might change, so the staff that are committed to teaching these courses might have to be updated on those trainings. The IB curriculum does consist of multiple assessments. If you are a diploma student, there are multiple courses you're taking. But as I mentioned before, you could simply take one course, one exam, and you're still an IB certificate student. So there is a cost associated with that, much like taking an AP exam, or if you were to enroll in a dual enrollment college course, there's a fee associated with it. In the case of an IB exam, it does cost $119 per course. Now, there is an exam at the end for almost all the courses, other than visual arts and music. That's based upon the compilation of their work is submitted. Like, they'll submit their artwork, they'll submit the musical pieces that they create, but most end in an exam. And there's also internal assessments that are completed, oral presentations, essays, projects, the list goes on. And the IB will assess some of those, our teachers will assess some of those, so all of that culminates into a grade.
That's good. Quick question for you,
Yes.
Evelyn. The fee per course,
Yep.
it's per test, right?
Yes.
And do you know if that's been a hindrance for any students taking the tests?
So the New York State does offer a waiver program where they'll reduce the fee. Here at GCS, if a student is on the free and reduced lunch program, then the fee is waived. So I would say no, because I communicate that to all of my families when I send out the bills. I also include a fee waiver consent form where a family can inform me if they are on that program, and then we can get the fee waived for them. And then just as a school counselor, if I notice that a fee's not being waived, I'm bringing that kiddo in my office and asking them how we can help them, because that's just my role as a school counselor, to talk to them and make sure that it's not a hindrance.
Great. If it were to be now, or if it becomes one, I think we would like to know. That's
Yes.
something I'd be concerned about.
No,
We'll
and
talk
I
about.
usually go to Todd and I'll let him know. There have been a couple cases in my role as IB coordinator where that has been the case, where a student has disclosed to me that, I'm not on the free and reduced, but it's really hard for a family, so I have no problem advocating for those kids. I agree. I think any student should have the opportunity. I don't want it to get in the way. And I make it a point to explain that when I go into classes to do scheduling. So when I talk to students about the opportunities, I make sure I say that.
That's great. I'm glad that there is help for the students on the free and reduced, but I would also be worried about those people who fall in between.
Yep, and
So
I
I'm glad to hear that.
completely understand where you're coming from, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a nice graphic that the IB provides to really show you, this is the way that they present their coursework, so it's broken off into groups. Our typical language is subjects, right, like English, math, social studies, they call them groups. So we've just listed here the subjects that we offer in the various groups. So in group 1, we offer an English A literature. Group 2 is the world languages, so we have Spanish and Latin. Group 3 would be what we consider social studies, Group 4 science, Group 5 math, and Group 6 the arts. I could talk for quite a long time about IB, and I think that there's a lot of little nuances that can be explained deeper here and there. But I will say you'll notice that some of the courses say HL or SL, so I do want to quickly describe that. As I said before, most of our courses are over 2 years. And that's because a lot of them are HL, so that's a higher level, more hours, more time goes into those courses, so you really have to stretch them over 2 years. With SL, that's a decreased amount of hours to complete the course, but a lot of schools, including Greenville, will still stretch it over 2 years so that there's enough time to gain that content knowledge. So you'll see that there. So some of our SL are over 2 years and some are over 1. And then the core, so the inside of this graphic here, you'll see theory of knowledge, creativity, activity, service, and extended essay. Those 3 items must be taken if a student is working toward their IB diploma. So as I said before, a student who is earning a certificate can take any one course and work up to that certificate, but a student who has invested in the IB diploma program would not only take a course in each group, but also complete the core. Why IB? So we really like to let families know, let students know what the program is all about so that folks know the opportunities that exist. We have this up here to get into a little bit more detail. We decided that in middle school it would be a really great time for kids to hear more about the program so that by the time they get to high school it's not a foreign term that they've heard of it before. So we do go into our 6th grade classes. We started this last year, we did it this year, and hope to continue it on and have students complete what's called an IB learner profile, where they take a little quiz about who they are as a learner, and they can fall into any one of these categories. So these are the qualities that IB feels are important for a student to possess as they complete the IB program and graduate from school. So as you can see, these are all really positive things: being an inquirer, knowledgeable, a thinker, a communicator, principled, open-minded, caring, risk taker, balanced, and reflective. So IB really focuses on where are your strengths, where do you fall, and then where do you see a need for improvement? Can you be a bit more of a risk taker? Can you be more open-minded? Because really all of these aspects are going to make you a better learner and are also going to help you contribute to your classroom around you. We all have our strengths. I fell into a communicator. Hopefully I'm doing a good job right now. So this is just something to kind of give you an idea of when a student is in the IB program, we hope that they'll come out with these skills and this knowledge. So some benefits of IB, this is a comprehensive program of study. That international mindedness and global thinking is a real positive. These are rigorous academics. A student is going to challenge themselves when they take these courses, yet there is some choice involved. What's really great is that while IB has set standards, if there's a topic that's really of interest to a student, then they get to explore that deeper. They get to talk with their teacher, develop research in that area, perhaps write their extended essay on that topic. There's really a chance for that student to grow and learn about what they want to learn. Another great benefit is that you don't have to be a full diploma student to take advantage of IB. We always say that find one topic that really interests you and go for an IB class in that. Maybe your strength isn't in English or math, but you're a phenomenal art student and you want to take IB visual arts, go for it. So really showing students that challenging themselves is a good thing, even if they don't go for the full diploma, taking any course is going to help them grow. And then another benefit of IB, of course, would be that colleges really value this. It can set a student apart when a college is looking at their transcript and help them become admitted to a certain college, or even give them some college credit if they score well, or pre-college credit, meaning if I'm an admissions rep and I take a look at your transcript, I'm going to see that you don't need introductory English, or that prerequisite math course. You're going to be able to move forward, which saves students time and money.
Question about the choice. So if I remember correctly, you showed that there were the core curriculum was 3 classes. Is that
So the core, do you mean of being a diploma student?
No, if you're a core student.
Oh, so
Thank you, Tom.
the core is a portion of being an IB diploma student. So to be an IB diploma student, you have to take a course in each group, so that's on the left. In addition, you have to complete the core.
Right, so if you're not a diploma student, it's really just whatever you choose,
Yeah.
you opt into. There's no core, if you will, that you need to take in addition to whatever you're choosing.
Yes, it's an option to. We have many students, Mr. Carl teaches theory of knowledge, many students are in that course that are not diploma students. They're simply taking it as an elective. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so as I mentioned before, it is our goal to really get the word out there, and we want all of our students to know about every opportunity that exists in Greenville. So in my role as IB coordinator, this is a list of some of the things that we do to inform families and students of the program and promote the program. As I mentioned, in middle school and 6th grade, we do the IB learner profile. So again, that's just a quick quiz, kind of letting students know where they fall, gives them also a good look at their strengths and an area to grow. As far as scheduling goes, the high school guidance department invites me to every single one of their classroom presentations where they speak to all of the students about their course requests for the upcoming school year. So I'm there to provide a bit about IB, especially for those 10th graders who really are at that point where they need to know, but I'm there to help even at every grade level. I talk about electives, I talk about a little bit of everything. Another way we promote the program is we have a lot of IB teachers who teach other courses as well. They teach all their other courses, so those teacher-to-student conversations happen quite a bit, as well as student-to-student conversations. Let's face it, kids like to listen to other kids more often sometimes than they want to listen to what we have to say, so it's nice when other students are really promoting the program through their own experience. I work with the high school counselors. They will invite me to any scheduling meetings where a student expresses interest in IB, and then that way I can follow up, join in on their meeting, plan a parent meeting myself, and talk more with those families. I also hold an IB information night for students and families, so a quick plug, especially to anyone listening at home. On February 10th, I will be holding a Google Meet where I'll inform families about not only the International Baccalaureate program, but also the Advanced Placement program, because I'm also our AP coordinator. That information went out via email today and will go on all of our ThrillShare sites, whether it be Facebook or Instagram, all of those. That'll go out next week. But if you have any questions, folks can just reach out to me, because I'm also happy to schedule one-on-one meetings anytime. And I also go to our open house and our future freshman night to promote the programs. And I have begun with an IB newsletter that I plan to write quarterly, just to inform families and really everybody in the community of all the wonderful things happening in the program. Okay, so time for some numbers. So this is a more updated piece. The program did begin in 2010-2011. The first exam cycle then was May 2012, because as I mentioned before, most courses do take 2 years. And then that first group of diploma students completed their exams in May 2013. To explain a little bit more about the timeline, IB does something called a 5-year review. It's their evaluation process, and we are currently in an evaluation year. So they evaluate their participating schools across the world every 5 years. For GCS, this is our second evaluation. So I just wanted to let everybody know that, because the aim of the 5-year evaluation is for the IB to ensure that the standards and practices that they put in place are being maintained. It is a process of formal reflection involving all stakeholders and a chance to identify major achievements and practices that might need further development. So myself, along with the entire IB team, will work to submit evidence and documentation, anything that IB requests really, and then we work with the IB to go over that submission and hopefully just improve and grow in the process. So that's something that's happening this year that I just wanted the board to be aware of. So since the time of this program starting, we do have 18 diploma graduates. So again, that's those students that completed the full IB diploma. 17 have earned that diploma, so that's from 2013 to 2021. We currently have about 65 students enrolled in an IB course. So this is an opportunity for 11th and 12th graders. So of all the 11th and 12th graders, that's about 39% of those students. For this upcoming exam cycle for May 2022, we have 27 students registered for 50 subjects or exams. And these are some average scores over the past 3 years. First, a little bit of background. For IB exams, you can earn anywhere between a 1 and a 7. Colleges typically like to see a 4, 5, 6, 7. Some of the more rigorous colleges will want to see a 7 or a 6. It varies, right? All colleges have the option to develop their own policy for how they accept AP credit, IB credit. So what IB typically likes to look at as success is those 4 and aboves. So for May 2019, we had 22 students taking 48 exams. Our average subject score was a 4.25. In May 2020, we had 18 students taking 34 exams, and the average subject score was a 4.94. And in May 2021, we had 27 students taking 49 exams with an average subject score of 4.66. Okay, so I know this is small. This slide includes some quotes from our former students who participated in the IB program. I'm happy to read each one aloud, but this presentation will be made available after tonight if folks really want to read deeply, but I did take a couple snippets out, a couple quotes. So from Emily Duncan, I guess she could say this herself, but one of the things I really enjoyed that she shared with me was, I think that the most significant way that the IB program impacted me is that it gave me the ability to look at a problem, academic or otherwise, that initially seems daunting and recognize that I'm capable of solving it. From Alex Content, class of 2020, IB intellectually challenged me in high school to not only think outside the box, but also to think critically about all situations. IB ensured that I was prepared for college, which has allowed me to thrive. And from Caroline Lewis in class of 2014, IB helped me to foster a genuine love of learning. And I'll really end with that because I think that that's a huge mission of the IB, is to develop a love for learning and to develop a strength and the ability to inquire and gain knowledge through critical thinking. All right. So I hope that anyone hearing about this at home, if this has sparked any questions, that you'll feel contact information is there or on the website, and I'm happy to answer any questions, and happy to answer any questions from everyone here.
Thank you, Kendall. Are there any resources as we go into the budget planning process that you feel could either increase participation, enhance the program, or anything like that? You don't have to give an answer because I don't want to put you on the spot. But.
Yeah, I guess I'll think about that then and talk to my team. And really the only thing that comes to my mind immediately is supporting the staff training that has to happen, but everyone, that's always happened, so I'm appreciative of that, but really that's something I think that helps the program grow, is supporting that process.
Quick follow-up. Is there any non-monetary support that would be helpful to, again, like either what Tracy asked, but
Yeah.
not money, support in some other way, whatever that might be? Again, if you want to think about it, maybe nothing.
I can take that to my team, for sure. We meet bi-weekly as an IB team to really go over the needs, work on the 5-year review, plan for the exams, but those questions are great things for me to bring back to the team.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Kendall.
Okay, now we're going to change hats a little bit, or perhaps that was the perfect segue, Janet, into talking about the budget review and the rollover budget. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Janet Massaman, business official. Thank you.
So tonight I'm presenting the rollover budget. You all received a booklet. And on page 1 of your booklet, I have summarized what the rollover budget is and how it is prepared. The rollover budget is used as a starting point for the new budget. The draft is put together based on the assumption all programming and staffing levels will stay exactly as they currently are. We then look at the previous budget and increase expenditures that we know that increase every year. Example, salaries, costs related to employment contracts, increases to BOCES contractual costs, health insurance increases, and retirement rates. We use actual costs when we can, or make projections based on past history. For the purpose of the rollover budget, we've increased the BOCES cost by an estimated 3%. Projected salaries are based on employee contracts. Since there are a few contracts that are being negotiated, we have used estimates for salary increases. Preliminary projections will be made based on step movement allowed by Triborough for contracts under negotiation. For employee benefits, we know that Social Security, Medicare have not changed. It is 7.65% of the gross wages. We are using ERS and TRS rates that have been estimated by each retirement system. Insurance costs we have estimated to increase by 5% mentioned by our consortium. This will be revised to actual cost when we know them in March. Our existing debt service payments, we know the actual amounts for the 22-23 school year. But in May, we are going to put a bus referendum that we propose on the May ballot. So the numbers that are in the debt service line, I have estimates that I received from our fiscal advisors. Our private placement tuition costs have decreased due to students aging out of programs, graduating, or moving out of district. This also impacts the contract transportation part of the budget. On the revenue side, the large factor will be our state aid projections for the 22-23 school year and the tax cap calculation. We anticipate that we will begin to receive estimated state aid projections from the governor in January. As you know, April 1st is the deadline to adopt the state budget. At that point, we will make any necessary adjustments to our projections. So, on the presentation, we're going to review our 2021 budget to the 21-22 budget. So for the 2021 budget, there was an increase of $879,397, or 2.8% from the previous year. Our tax levy increased by $123,254, or a 0.72%. Next slide. The 21-22 budget, there was an increase of $633,152, or a 1.96% from the previous year. Our tax levy increased by $197,359, or a 1.15% from the previous year. So this, right now, the rollover budget is showing an increase of $512,705, or a 1.56 increase for this school year. So you have to remember, that's just keeping program and staffing at the current level. Next slide. The administrative component has an increase of 2.66%. The administrative component consists of administration of the school, clerical staff, school board costs, central data processing, BOCES admin costs, research, planning, and evaluation. Next slide. The capital component has a 2.24% increase, and this is the maintenance and custodial staff, debt service, utilities, facility costs, service contracts, maintenance and repairs, and general insurance. The program component has a 1.27% increase. That is the salaries and benefits of all teachers, staff delivering pupil services like health, guidance, library, and athletics, textbook, instructional materials, equipment, extracurricular student activities, BOCES program costs, transportation, and contract transportation. Next slide. And this shows the agendas of all the meetings that we have for all the budget workshops. So as we start on the preliminary budget amounts will be updated as actual costs are known. On February 28th, we will be going over the program budget component. Any questions? Now, I put on your desks another sheet that says 21-22 federal funds. It was asked, you know, what our federal funding is looking like. So the top portion shows our annual grants. Those are grants that we get every year. The dollar numbers, that changes, but those are the grants that we get every year. These are just one-year grants. We have salaries, 15 is instructional salaries, 16 is non-instructional, purchase services, and then supplies, BOCES, employee benefits. The second part of the page is all the CRISA and the ARP money. You'll see over about 3/4 of the page over, it says 2-year grant, 3-year grants. This way you can see how long we had that amount of money. And this is where we budgeted that money. The pre-K extension grant, that's only for 1 year, but I believe that they were trying to keep that going, to keep upgrading that extension grant. So we'll see if the state keeps that one going. So then we have your grand totals. We are still working on one more ARP grant for the section 611 and 619. That's for the special education students. We have time to put this together. I'm still collecting all the various numbers from what the special ed team is looking for that they could use. So I'm still working on those two budgets. They're not due till June 30th. If you need to see how these grants are spent, in the board documents, in the finance documents, you'll see this says Fed Approp Status Report. There you'll see how the grants are being spent down. And if you need me to go over that report, I can do it another time with you guys.
Just quickly, like, what is Title IV?
Title IV is, it improves students' activity achievement. So that we use different purchase services to come in, like assemblies, bullying assemblies. I can't think off the top of my head. Erin? Social and emotional learning.
Well-rounded educational opportunities, safety and health.
Janet,
Yes.
is all of the CRISA money budget or encumbered at least? I'm wondering if we have some in reserve. CRISA money.
The CRISA money, that's a 2-year grant, and that was written for a lot of outside improvements
Right.
and technology improvements. I am still waiting on some of the budgets for the Ellis Courtyard, the library courtyard, and the pavilion. So I still don't have the actual numbers for them. I have estimated numbers in their budgets. I don't have the actual numbers yet.
Okay.
I'm still waiting for the facilities and planning up at the state to approve the pavilion one. It's taking a little time.
If there's a delay, let's say, on the approval process, then do we still have enough time, or will they provide us with the leeway if we don't meet the deadlines? Worst case scenario.
They say that everything has to be expended by a certain time. So facilities is supposed to be advancing these requests when they see grant on that application. They're supposed to be moving those along faster than if it's a bond type of project. I guess we're gonna have to see how fast facilities gets things done. Because we can't go any further until they approve the project.
If you could just keep, hello, okay, if you could just keep us updated, I guess, on, critical dates and everything else.
Sure.
Thank you.
That's it. Okay, thank you. So now I'm going to move on to the action items, and we're going to approve the minutes for several meetings for 7.1 through 7.5. So I need a motion to approve the minutes for the meeting of December 6th, December 13th, December 15th, December 16th, and December 22nd. Any discussion? Discussion? No, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Duncan? I need a motion to approve the finance reports for the month ending December 31st, 2021.
Eric?
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
I need to hear from Duncan. 'Cause I don't
Duncan?
know how to record this. Because it's either 6-0 or 7-0.
Hold on, let me see if he's still there.
He appears to be. It's the 6-7 one. Duncan, can you hear us?
We're going to try to text him.
No, I'll just have to proceed with 6-0
Okay, let's
until
assume that it's 6.
until I
Okay.
hear something.
I need a motion to accept the Committee on Special Education recommendations.
Angela, thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. I need a motion to approve the personnel agenda.
Eric, second. Angela, thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Dave, will you- the CSE one too.
Okay, I need a motion to approve the instructional program initiative, the new program proposal, Introduction to Textiles.
Dave, need a second?
Second.
Eric, thank you.
Any discussion? I love this course, I think it's a great idea. On the form, I think that we just need to put some specifics that we're gonna measure it against. So I'm fine with approving it, if we could just add that in by next month and, I don't know, forward it to the board. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. I need a motion to approve the Accounting 2 course to be eligible for a math credit.
Eric, I need a second. Jay, thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. I need a motion to accept the fire reports.
Angela, Eric, thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. I need a motion to approve the tuition rates for 2021-2022 for regular education and special education.
Eric, second. Jay, thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I need a motion to approve the intermunicipal tuition agreement between the Greenville Central School District and Vernon Knox Westerlo for the 21-22 school year.
Eric, Jay, thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. I need a motion to approve the health and welfare services contract between the Greenville Central School District and the Saugerties Central School District.
Jim, Eric, thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the contract between the Greenville Central School District and the CT Mail Associates for services pertaining to the field work and the mapping of underground utilities of the proposed location for the middle school, high school pavilion in the amount of $6,950.
Eric, second. Angela, thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the corrective action plan dated September 20th, 21 for federal awards 2021-001, stewardship and compliance issued by the New York State Education Department, Office of Audit Services.
You just need to update that motion. It should read, the corrective action plan dated January 4th. That's my
Sorry.
mistake.
So I need a motion to approve the corrective action plan dated January 4th.
Eric and Angela, thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve, am I going in and out?
You are.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. I need a motion to approve the creation of a substitute bus driver trainee with a rate of $15 per hour.
Jay, Eric, thank you.
Any discussion?
Yeah. Tammy, could you provide just a wee bit of explanation of what your plan on that is?
Sure, so we actually been trying to brainstorm ideas in order for us to secure some additional drivers. And so one of the things we do while we promote and offer free training, that is still someone's time and they're not being paid for that time. So we felt if we could have a substitute rate so that they are paid for that time, and usually it ranges approximately 30 hours, they're at least getting paid during those few weeks that they're working to be trained as a bus driver. Then if they go and pass their test and we can hire them as a sub driver, then they would be the sub driver, and if we have the opening, we would quickly make them a regular driver. So that is our hope.
How many hours are involved in the training?
It's up to about 30. So it could differ for people. I can let Mary talk about it, but it could differ depending on, if they need a little bit more time working on this versus that. So I don't know if that's all road, or I'll let Mary explain exactly what it is.
It's range training. It's also behind the wheel training. So there are a number of ways that we train students for driving. We have a new program that's going to be starting from the Federal Motor Carriers Association. That starts February 7th. It's the ELTT, which is entry-level driver training. It's going to make it even harder for us to retain drivers. So yeah, there are 3 different ways we train. In the yard, on the road, and then theory training also. So it's both training.
We'll give you an opportunity to perform.
Thank you very much. Looking for drivers.
I know, but I'm a school board member, I can't do it.
Well, when you retire from the board, if you would consider it, we
I'm thinking about
would
what-
greatly
what
appreciate it.
Be a volunteer.
Yeah, you can.
Oh, you can volunteer, right?
I'll tell you, I know.
You can volunteer.
Oh,
Vote, exactly. So all in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to appoint the membership for committees.
Jay, need a second? Eric, thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the overnight field trip.
Motion?
Yeah.
Eric, thank you. Second? Angela, thank you.
Any discussion?
Just a question, Tammy, I think you said this previously, but I think I've asked with the prior field trips, or will again, whatever the current COVID protocols will be followed carefully on the trip, correct?
That is correct. So for the one that's coming up soon would be the same that we followed in October, which is where they would be tested before they go, and we would test them upon their return. We would do that same thing, and the parents would also have to sign the waiver.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now I'd like to turn it over to Tammy for discussion on the COVID update.
So a lot has changed in the week that, it seems like a long time ago, but last week I provided a COVID update and had many meetings, in fact, just 3 with the Department of Health alone this last week, and actually a 4th, because Aaron and I, they met with us Sunday morning, which was very nice of them. So with that, the biggest change that went out to the community today is that the New York State Department of Health has adopted the new CDC guidelines of shortening the quarantine and isolation. So my write-up says for the general population, I don't know if there's confusion with this word. For the general population, what we were talking about is not just school population. They have started this shortened quarantine for everyone. So by general population, I was saying it's beyond Greenville Central School. This is the guidelines that the counties are working with, that they've shortened the quarantine and isolation to 5 days. So with one of the concerns, obviously if there's a medical exemption, that student would be allowed even under the new guidance. So, but I will reach out to, or Mr. Mahan will reach out tomorrow to talk about that. So what does it mean? This is for isolation and quarantine. Well, we were told last week that they were going to start officially today. They actually started on Friday. So we were a little behind because Friday they were issuing the new quarantine orders. So it says 5 days, but what 5 days means is you can come back on day 7. So the day you become symptomatic, or if you have no symptoms and you test, that's day 0. Then you count 5 days beyond that, so that gives you 6 days. So then you're actually returning on the 7th day. Excuse me. So you retain.
Sorry, I just have a quick question. So they can come back after 5. Are they still allowed to have up to 10 absences excused?
So it actually turns into the day 6. You mean if they are not ready to come back?
Right.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So while we sent this out, there were definitely people that were not ready to come back, and they've stayed out, and that's, we want that.
Okay.
But for the students and or staff members who are asymptomatic and or their symptoms had resolved and there's criteria that's listed, they were allowed to come back on again, and actually is day 7. And then of course there's the requirements that you will, wear a mask, socially distance, and we're very clear on what the expectations are for them to come back. So that went out today. Excuse me. A big thing that I've talked a lot about is the bus. And that's the part that we have been quarantining the most students. And really the data has shown that there hasn't been the spread for the number of students that we have been quarantining. So I had talked about Rensselaer, they were allowed to do the pilot, and there was just the seat next to them. So Columbia and Greene County has reviewed that, and they have both moved forward with the same. So starting Friday, we actually started quarantining students on the bus, just the seat, and so we will keep that data too. So that's really good news for the number of students that have had to be quarantined. Today, we also sent out testing, so the big thing is, and when can we test? So right now, based on the amount of tests that we still have that were provided for families, and we are getting more tests this week, we are beginning, and other districts have started, point of care testing. This is if someone becomes a student or a staff member, becomes symptomatic during the day. What's been happening now is the nurses send them home, family has to go get a test, we have to wait for the results, and it's just, a lot of time is going by, and then then have to contract trace if it comes back positive, and days could have passed. So if it's a student with parent permission, the nurses would do a point of care test. It could be the same antigen test or the other type of test, which the name is escaping me. And right away, 15 minutes, we know if that's a student who has COVID, and then right in the now, we're taking care of students that have been in close contact, or we know that they are not testing positive for COVID. And the family does not have to go out and get a test. You know, if they're not well enough to go to school, they're still gonna obviously be going home. So we're starting that right away. The surveillance testing, so we know that we've been doing the athletes every week, and that's based on testing capacity. I've talked about that we really haven't been receiving the testing that we need to keep doing more. And that is still true. So while we're getting tests next week, that we're starting the point of care testing. And so the surveillance testing would be unvaccinated students and staff. What the big thing is that I mentioned last week is test to stay. That is the thing that the state is obviously promoting now. So Dr. Cruz from Questar attended a meeting on Friday. So while we're being delivered from the state level more tests next week, they basically have said that their plan is to continue sending these tests to districts who have adopted test to stay. So what test to stay is, you have a student that has tested positive for COVID. Those students that would have been contract traced and sent home to quarantine, if the parents say test to stay, over a 7-day period, they will get tested 3 times. And if they remain negative, they never have to be excluded from school. And same with faculty and staff. Tested here. So we're meeting again on Wednesday for this. The county has not adopted it yet, but this is definitely what we're looking at. And this may make contract tracing go away. The county is just about done. They are done with making phone calls. So I know that's a big frustration. Albany County has stopped prior. Greene County, now you go on their website to report your, positive status. They just don't have the capacity anymore to make the phone calls and do the contact tracing, which has been left to the school districts who frankly do not have the capacity for what we've been doing. And so, I mean, we're doing the best we can. We keep doing the contact tracing, but we're now telling the families, this is your day that you're able to come back. Report your, we'll send it on to Greene County, but a lot of it is report your results, especially for the general public. That was a lot of information. Then I'll talk about the athletic piece too.
So I'm a little confused about the test to stay versus the point of care. So for example, if a student, take the situation under point of care, is not feeling well, they go to the nurse, they're tested. If they're negative, then feeling good enough, then they would stay in school.
Yes.
Okay. Then if the student is positive, then would they participate also in the test to
No,
stay?
if they're positive, they would go home.
Okay.
They would be able to be eligible to come back on day 7 if their symptoms have resolved or if they were asymptomatic.
It's on
But
day
they don't
7.
stay.
Okay, it's the day 7, I get it, thank you.
Right, they would fall into that category.
Okay.
But anyone who is exposed to them can test to stay. And this is really preventing all of the kids that have had to go home for, 10+ days that really never got COVID.
So what I thought I heard also was that the kids will still come to us to allow testing so long as we participate in the Test to Stay program?
Yes.
Are we participating in the Test
So
to
we're
Stay?
talking about it again Wednesday this week. I am advocating for it, yes.
And this is coming from the county?
This is coming, we're talking about the county, Greene County
So the
onward.
county has to decide if we're gonna do Test to Stay before we can?
They have told me, and I don't understand it all, but that it has to be in agreement with all of the county schools.
Okay. Thank you.
Couple of clarifying questions. So the student who's positive, you said they go home and after 7 days, they, under the shortened isolation guidance, they can potentially come back on day 7 if they have
Yes.
a test. The people who exposed to them, who would have quarantined for 10 days, now can test to stay, right? And could you just, again...
If the test to stay is adopted, yes, they can test to stay.
Okay, right,
yes.
thank you. Could you, I didn't follow the timing of the test stay for those people exposed to COVID that otherwise would quarantine. Can you just
So I
explain
don't
that
have
again?
the actual dates that we would have to. I'm assuming the day that it happens would be your first test. Probably day 4 would be your next test. So I don't know because they really have to talk about it because then day 7, you're allowed to come back under the other thing. So a lot still, some of this guidance like overlaps, like when they did this first one, we were talking about essential workers last week, well that really became obsolete because everyone falls under this new guidance.
Okay, two more questions. First, did you say that if whether the district adopts it or not, is that driven by the county, or does the county decide the districts in the county can now decide whether they want to, and then each district gets to decide? In other words,
So what I
who's
was
making
told
the
at the
ultimate
last meeting with the county is that all of the Greene County school districts would need to agree together that they're going to do test to stay, that one couldn't do it versus the other, is what I was told at the last meeting. It's probably just the consistency they need to run things at the county level.
Okay, the one other clarifying question is, did you say that the district is no longer going to be doing contact tracing?
No, what I said was, this almost would make that go away if everyone did the test to stay. We would still have to say who was exposed, so that is contact tracing. But do we need to do all of the reporting that we're doing and sending it, would be the question. Because the county is, they're uploading it, but that's about the extent. They're not making the phone calls to families. They just don't have the capacity.
I understand, I'm sorry, this is a bit tangential. I understand if the county doesn't have the capacity to make the phone calls. I don't even know now, how is the county notifying people if they are? Was it just an email, did you say, going out?
We've been calling the families. So I think we're gonna get to the point, I've talked to Aaron, is we have to do our own automated response at some point. That we send a text to families saying this, and this is your date, because some people are dying on the vine. Literally trying to do everything that is required.
Okay, thanks.
So just briefly, I know there was some concerns about athletic return to play. I got my first email late on Thursday, and then I got a second parent email on Friday. Both of them I let know that I would look into it today. Of course, today was a busy day. Ms. Wickham has been out sick herself, so we were able to do a meet late this afternoon with the health office. So the health office, they have been trying to do their best by the students. They're concerned. They have been working with the medical director who was following CDC guidelines. So that they are CDC guidelines, return to play. So nurse's office has told me they have done it over the past year and a half, 2 years. I've heard they have not. I think some students have fallen through the cracks. So I think some students have not. But regardless of that, at my superintendent's meeting this morning, I also asked what other superintendents were doing One of the parents had shared with me a document that another district was using in Albany County. I really liked it. This would put it on the pediatrician. And basically, it just, what I like about it is it still does all the return to play requirements. So we know that the doctor is asking and doing a cardiac screen. But the pediatrician will say they're cleared, they need to do a progressive return to play, or they're not ready yet. And the pediatrician will check one of those, they'll sign it. So what I said, and again this afternoon, we ran out of time, the letter is written, the form has been changed, Daphne did it with Greenville, so it will get out to parents at the latest tomorrow. If what we agreed to is if they already have the doctor's note, because regardless they have to have a doctor's note releasing them. We're not gonna have them just return to play without a doctor releasing them. The doctor, but we still want this form to be filled out, so what we've said is, if you already have the note, you can come to practice, here's this document, can you at least fax it to the doctor and ask them to fill it out. Anyone who has not gone to the doctors yet, here is the document, just bring it with you when you go, have the pediatrician fill it out. So we will use their own pediatrician's return to play or clearance. Again, so resolved later this afternoon, didn't get it out quick enough.
I just had a question for P. I just had a question for PE, because like under concussions, PE students also don't participate in PE. Would that be a similar protocol, or do you have a sense of how we'd be handling that?
That's really the nurse's question. I know what she talked about today, and I don't understand it all, is that that can count towards the days, so I guess they do limited activity. So really the nurse, more than me, has that knowledge.
Tammy, a couple questions on the 5-day change on quarantine and ISO. I get it, we don't have a choice, right? The county's adopting this and every school district's gonna do it, and that's region and countywide, correct? We don't have a choice.
Every school district is doing it. I would question, my concern with is the county's gonna say 5 days, are we then gonna say, well, you can't come to school? You're released, you're not in quarantine,
Okay,
but I'm saying you can't come to school.
yeah, I wanted to know, because that might come up. So that would be the same thing with test to stay, right? If the county adopts it or decides that's the way we're gonna go.
Yeah, so if the parents don't agree with that testing, then their student would be out, their child would be out.
Right, that's my next question.
Yeah.
Because I actually see your point about that being a lot better, I think, than contact tracing, because you will ID the kids that would have been quarantined, correct?
Yes.
Ask mom or dad if they're gonna be part of test to stay. And the ones that say, no, I don't want my kid tested, they're under the old plan?
Yes.
Okay.
So we did send out a survey late today to try to get permission slips filled out so that we have that, and the 3 options were point of stay, surveillance, and test to stay. We put that in too, just if we can start getting it. I'm sure some parents won't fill it out, and the nurses will call them in the now, and if they want to do it, they'll have to fill it out.
All right. Again, like last meeting, this seems like a lot of testing and a lot of work so I'm hoping you've been able to reach out and get somebody that's gonna help you with this.
We've got a posting ready. That's about the extent of it.
Have you had time to even create a posting?
We created the postings, we gotta get it out to try to get some help.
We've gotten over 100 responses to that consent form
Oh, excellent.
online.
Nice.
And that was since 5:15 when it was sent out.
Timmy, can I ask a question? It's more of clarification. So there was recently an issue that happened on Long Island where a school tried to, a Board of Education tried to have their own mandate, and the governor basically said no. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that was over masks, where the Board of Education was saying that it was up to well, they were saying that it was up to the school district to decide whether they could wear masks or not, and they quickly were informed that they do not have the authority to change that regulation, and that masks are mandated in schools at this time.
So I guess where I'm going is we have a lot less authority than to change things. So, you know, when it comes down from the state department and everything else. But I do see some benefits to it. If we know that in school, learning is beneficial to all students, and this allows it to happen.
At the end of the day, we have to hold our hat on that we followed the guidance that was presented to us. If we go outside of that, then I think that leaves us vulnerable either way.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, I would like to say that, not just thank you, but I think that we recognize how fast things are changing and how much work you and your team have put into not only issuing communication on a very quick timeline, turning on a dime, having meetings that go far beyond just our school, but with other superintendents, other departments of health and so forth. And I guess I want to say thank you, but I also ask everyone just to be a little patient. It's unsettling, we understand that, and people are doing the best they can, so thank you.
I just want to add, besides recognizing Aaron, who does an amazing amount of work, is all of our building secretaries. They are making phone calls on the weekends. They are helping contract trace over the weekends. The principals are involved. So it is massive amount of work, and I just want to acknowledge everyone that is doing it, that they are going above and beyond. Nurses are coming in early to test, so it's really a team effort.
Thank you. Just a quick reminder that we have the leadership development on January 22nd, that right now is scheduled from 9 to 1. We might end early, but NISBA had said that 3 to 4 hours, so I would rather us commit to the 9 to 1, and if we end early, great, we're all said and done, rather than come to 12 o'clock and, oh, you know, we really needed an extra half hour. So please mark your calendars. There were at last count 2 individuals who had not filled in the survey. So if you could please complete that as soon as possible so that the moderator can compile the information and then present it to us for that. Any questions or thoughts related to that board workshop? And the focus on that is board goals for the next year or even a longer timeline. Okay, so the next thing is just also a reminder for the 21-22 Quest Star 3 annual meeting, which is scheduled for April 13th at 6 p.m. and it will probably be virtual. Okay, so if you could just, yeah, exactly, 99%. Let's see, input items for the next meeting. Does anyone have anything? Nothing? Okay.
Nothing today.
Thank you.
Nothing today. I'd like to move on now to the closing open forum. And please note the same guidelines apply as stated during the first open forum. One clarifying point that I would like to make is that earlier when we did not read the names of some of the parents who had sent in letters, they were not anonymous. The parents sent us an email. We knew who they were. They just asked if we would withhold their name so just out of respect for that request, we did. All right, so I just want to make that distinction. They're not anonymous letters. Does anyone have anything to say for the open closing forum? Okay, then I would like to send to executive session. I need a motion will be made. Motion to adjourn the executive session to discuss the employment of a particular person and negotiations. Any discussion?
All in favor? Thank you.
It's only 7:30?